Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge.
Most politically incorrect black man on the planet, Rod Eccles.
Well, hello, my fellow Americans and freedom lovers all across this wonderful globe of ours. It is I, your lovable host, Elrod, coming to you live from my bunkerized home studio somewhere within the great granite state of New Hampshire, where the state motto is still live free or die. It is not big government or bust. And how do I know? Yes, folks, I even checked again today, as I do every day. It is Friday, May the 8th in the year of our Lord 2015, which means we've come to the end of the week as far as the Rod Eccles Show is concerned. But, of course, there is the weekend that is ahead, and hopefully everybody will have a chance to really thoroughly enjoy their weekend. And because it is Friday and tomorrow's the weekend, today is also what we normally do here, Free for All Friday. And today is the day that, we really talk about just about, keep it clean, of course, just about anything that is on your mind. So the number is 603-835-3224. That's 603-835-3224 if you wish to call the program and discuss just about anything that is on your mind. Coming up on next week, Monday, there will be a couple little tweaks to the program. You'll notice some changes to the listeners, and it'll be good stuff. But right now, I am just sitting here just chatting with you and enjoying my good old Perdomo cigar. It's a Lot 23 cigar from Nicaragua. The wrapper and filler is Nicaraguan. And it's Friday, so you get to indulge a little bit, enjoy your weekend. I know there's going to be fewer people that are going to be enjoying their weekends, though, coming up soon, and we'll get into that. This $15 an hour minimum wage is already starting to have an effect on people. I know Dr. Ben Carson is out there saying that he thinks the minimum wage should be a little bit higher. I don't know where he's getting that from, but we'll also talk a little bit about, the Clintons, of course, because she's still running. She isn't out of the running for the Democratic nomination. Lindsey Graham inserts foot back in mouth again to, reassert his rhinoism. And we'll get into Lindsey, plus a whole bunch of other stuff. But first I want to talk about last night after the show. I watched an episode of Netflix's version of Daredevil. I really like that show. I'm almost at the season finale, and it was rather interesting. I mean, it's good enough for me to keep watching. I like the superhero stuff, but you have to enthrall me. I haven't seen the new Avengers movie. Actually, I think I have yet to see the latest Thor and Captain America movie, Winter Soldier or whatever it was. I don't know why I haven't seen those, but I haven't. So I guess I'm a little bit behind, but as far as that is concerned, I will not see the Spider-Man movie because I just think that, I could put up with Tobey Maguire as being Spider-Man, but the new, I can't deal with the new casting of Spider-Man. It just, not buying it. Just as I will not see the upcoming Superman v Batman movie. Because I just can't buy Ben Affleck as being Bruce Wayne Batman. So it's kind of like George Clooney being Batman. Just not buying it. Sorry. That's just, a lot of people like them. That's fine. That's your prerogative. But I digress on that kind of stuff. I know that a lot of people like the superhero genre of films. I do too, but I'm not exactly a purist, but I'm close to it. And I don't like, I haven't watched the last two X-Men movies because they have deviated so much from what I grew up as being the X-Men that I couldn't stand it. I wasn't watching the X-Men. So I haven't seen the last two. And I guess Hugh Jackman, after 17 years of playing Wolverine, is hanging up his claws. He's not going to be playing Wolverine anymore. I'm sure they'll get some other young hottie to play Wolverine, much like they did for in getting Chris Hemsworth as Thor. Woman go gaga over that, and he's what, wasn't he People some magazine Sexiest Man Alive or Sexiest Man of the Year or something like that. He's an Aussie, right? He's got a brother too. I don't think I guess his brother's doesn't look like him. So I don't know if they're half brothers or full brothers, but they're not. I don't think they share the same last name. I guess I don't know, but I don't really follow them all that much. But I digress again because it's Friday, and we can digress. But last night after the show. After the program, I was really, I got to tell you, I didn't think I put that much of me into my show last night, but I was exhausted after the show. And I lumbered through all the post-production stuff because, here, we got post-production stuff that you have to do for the program. And it has to be sent off to all our syndicated stations, which keep growing by the week, it seems, now, which is a good thing. So I have to package the show and do post-production to send it off. And I lumbered through that. But by the time I was done, I was really I just didn't really want to think about anything anymore. I just wanted to have my brain sort of shut down because my brain does not shut down very often. Even as tired as I get sometimes, it's constantly, thinking. And, the wheels are constantly turning. So last night I thought, I'll just watch I'll watch some Daredevil. Now the problem with Daredevil is that it's not mindless superhero programming. It really isn't. I mean, you really have to pay attention and think because they introduce a few plot twists and turns here and there. So it's not mindless. So I thought after one episode, because I've got two more episodes to go, and then I'm done with the season. So I didn't go on to another episode. See, what I always do with shows when I binge watch them, I'll binge watch up until the season finale show. And then I'll save that last show for another day. Just so I'm not worn out from the program. So it gives me something to look forward to. I know it's kind of stupid, but that's, just me. So I didn't watch episode 12 in order to get it out of the way so I could watch episode 13 over the weekend. Because I really just wanted to veg out. So I decided that, what, I haven't seen something. So I switched from Netflix to HBO. Yes, I have HBO now. And I was watching the documentary. It was rather long, too. I didn't expect it to be quite as long as it was. But I watched a documentary over there on Netflix about the Church of Scientology. And again, I'm thinking, well, Rod, you're watching something again that isn't for mindless viewing. You're going to have to pay attention to this kind of stuff. And I did. And as I'm watching this, I'm realizing a comparison that Scientology is a cult. And I'm not even going to get into the Tom Cruise thing. Tom Cruise, I'm sorry, he looks like he's lost it, like he's crazy. That laugh and smile is a crazy man in my book. I don't know if he's really, truly, mentally unstable, but he just looks and sounds crazy to me. And I don't know if it's something that Scientology, it's at the point where it's almost seems fake. Like everything that Tom Cruise does is highly forced. I'm not buying his ultra happiness. I don't see it. It seems too rehearsed, too forced, too fake, and too insane. I'm just not buying it. I mean, nobody genuinely, for no particular reason, just because they're happy, smiles that big and laughs that way. I mean, look, I've paid attention to Tom Cruise since the Risky Business days. He was not like that back then. So I'm comparing, I know people change a little bit as they age, but wow, he's not the same person. I mean, this is what people were talking about when he was jumping up and down on Oprah Winfrey's couch talking about how he was in love, and that it did not seem natural. And a lot of people picked up on that. That's not real. He's hiding something. Something's fake. What's going on here? And it really talked about I know there's two sides to every story, but we really saw the dark side of the church and of Scientology. Now, there were certain things that I knew about L. Ron Hubbard and how he came up with and invented Scientology. I did not know the extent of the ruse that this guy came up with for Scientology. I did not fully understand just how devious and how much of a loon this guy appeared to be. L. Ron Hubbard, when you looking at the interviews that he much like Tom Cruise, he seemed a little off. He seemed a little crazy. And some of the pictures that they showed of this guy, I'm like, wow, that's either that's one of two things. Either that's evil in his eyes, or that's the sign of insanity right there. That's what I got. That's what I took away from the program. And it was amazing how the church amassed its wealth, and they did one thing that was kind of gutsy and good, is that back in the 90s and 80s and 90s, the church, Miskovich, or whatever his name is, the one who took over after L. Ron Hubbard, he basically took on the IRS head on. And they won. Because before then, the IRS was saying that you don't qualify for, tax-free status because you're not a real religion in a church. And this guy, who very determined, very, quite, look, let me tell you something. If the mafia had this guy leading the crime syndicate, they'd still be in business right now and on top of their game. Because this guy is something else. You don't do to the IRS what the IRS tends to want to overwhelm you with government might. Well, he flipped it on the IRS. When the IRS was not giving the Church of Scientology their tax-free status, religious status, he decided that he was going to sue the IRS in multiple states. He literally had all of these people individually file lawsuit against the IRS while the church itself also filed lawsuit. So basically at the same time, so he overwhelmed the IRS. And the IRS was shocked. Whoa, who can do that? Nobody does that to the IRS, but he eventually won. Now, that isn't a person who's determined because he has a certain religious belief. That's a man who's determined because there's a lot of money at stake. A lot. If they lost their case and the IRS said that, the church was going to be bankrupt, they owed like $1 billion in back taxes and penalties. And they only had like a $250 million worth of assets at the time. And then all of a sudden, they got this tax-free status. All that's lifted. They start expanding. They start buying properties, and now the church has a value of well over $3 billion. And they have a church membership of less than 50,000. And you're listening to all these people tell the different stories. There are certain things that are backed up by other events that have been recorded, and it's amazing. I'm surprised they haven't killed any. I'm really surprised they haven't really killed anybody, but I see why they don't have to. Now, I did not because I don't. All I did was read Dianetics. I didn't realize I didn't even read the whole thing because I thought it was rubbish. But I didn't realize the extent that they go through to achieve this clear process or designation in this thing that they call an e-meter. And it's really amazing how people fall into this trap. And the problem is that these people that are administering this test, if you will, or this therapy, if you will, like a psychiatrist or psychologist, they're taking extremely copious notes. And they get into some details, and you would think, you're talking to somebody like your priest or your pastor or something, the confessional. That information that's passed between the two of you is supposed to be sacrosanct and they tell nobody. Well, evidently the church, in order to keep people in line, will use that against them sometimes, against the members, to keep them members. And I began, now you're probably thinking, what the hell does Scientology have to do with, pop culture and politics, Rod? Well, as I'm sitting there watching this program all the way through, I begin to see correlations, similarities between the Church of Scientology and democratic liberalism. There is a tremendous amount of similarity. See, it doesn't matter what the truth is. These people in Scientology, much like liberals, will try to bully, will try to manipulate, will try to hide the truth, will even go so far as to do things that are rather shady, possibly even illegal, in order to achieve their end. And yes, the Church of Scientology, according to this documentary, did do certain things that push the envelope and push the limit of legality. I mean, there are some things that these people were saying that I'm thinking, well, that's not legal. And we get the same thing with the Democrat Party and liberalism. They do things that you can look at and say, whoa, that's not legal. But they're supposed to be out there telling you, well, they are telling you, but they're supposed to be out there and claiming that they are for the little guy. When they can't continually berate the little guy, they bully the little guy. At the same time, they try to tell the little guy that without the liberals, they're nothing. Kind of like Scientology, if you don't keep progressing and keep doing these sessions, past the state of clear, and you keep doing, if you don't keep doing these, you're not going to achieve the highest level. And the liberals kind of tell you the same thing. If you do not keep this program, then you're not going to make it without us. You're not going to get to that next level. If you do not keep, things like affirmative action, well, blacks aren't going to make it. They can't make it without us. And people get brainwashed into believing this kind of nonsense. It is nothing more, the liberalism is nothing more than a cult. Now, surely, a lot of people say, well, liberalism is a mental disorder. Well, cultism is a mental disorder. And frankly, after looking at some of these people on this program about the Church of Scientology, again, I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, so I can't make a psychological affirmative determination, but they look crazy to me. And being crazy is a mental disorder. There is a huge correlation, folks. I mean, it was kind of frightening at the same time as I began to put the two together, as I began to compare in my own mind. This is why I wasn't able to, just sort of veg out. But this sort of, how can I put this? This sort of, they were out there basically just trying to keep people in the program. They were just trying to keep, in any means possible, keep people in the church by any means necessary. The Democrats are out there trying to keep liberalism alive and trying to keep people on the liberal side by any means possible. They will try to stay in power by any means possible. That means by cheating in elections. And look, this whole notion that, there's no electoral fraud. That's why people have, over the past couple of elections, people have gone to jail, mostly on the Democrat side. Many of them from that organization that we once called Acorn. People have actually gone to court, been fined, and have been sent to jail. You don't hear that from the left lamestream media, but they have. Look, this is a cult, folks. I realize that is what liberalism is. It's another type of religious cult. And one of the things that you have to do in order to defeat your enemy, Sun Tzu says it, you have to know your enemy. And when you know what your enemy is all about, you know who your enemy is, you know how they think, that's how you can defeat them. And we, as being conservatives on the right side of the political aisle, if we want to preserve our Constitution and preserve our country, we have to fully understand what the left is all about, how they think, how they operate. They're nothing more than a cult. They do nothing more than try to brainwash people into believing what they say. And there's many types of brainwashing technology. There's plain manipulation. There's repeating the same lie over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And of course, there's beratement. If you don't agree with them, then you're a racist, or you're a sexist, or you're a homophobe, and they keep saying it until you bend, because you don't want to be called that. You don't want to be considered that. You don't want to be looked at that way. So you sort of cower. You cover your head and say, "I'm not a racist. I'm not a homophobe. I'm not a bigot. I'm not this. I'm not that." And you start to capitulate to what they're saying. You can't do that. You got to understand this is their tactic. This is nothing more than cultish behavior. And as with any cult, there's only so many people who get to enjoy the full fruits and benefits of being in the cult, and those are the people at the top. Just like at Church of Scientology, only the people at the top are enjoying all the lavish lifestyle. Tom Cruise, he's a big star, and they treated him well, but there are lots of other people that didn't get the same kind of treatment. So you really have to pay attention to what they're doing, what they're saying, how they're saying it, and you have to stand up for your own beliefs and not be belittled by what they say. Because, frankly, folks, they don't have the ability to really tell you that you can't make it without them. So you have to really go in and change their minds.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. Call InventHelp today.
To get your free inventor's information, call 1-800-352-1609. That's 1-800-352-1609.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement, and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method, and to get your free report, go to 52security.com. That's the number 52security.com. 52security.com. Go to 52security.com.
Hurt or injured in a car accident? It can be hard to take the proper legal action after a car accident, but waiting can cost you more. The law requires car accident victims to assert claims promptly. You could lose out by simply waiting. Call 800-709-4667 right now to see what your claim could be worth when handled by a skilled attorney. With a lawyer fighting and speaking up for you, you could be entitled to a big cash award. Call 800-709-4667. That's 800-709-4667. Now it's fast and easy to connect with the legal help you need after your car accident. Call 800-709-4667. The call is free, but you need to act now before time runs out on your claim. You need a lawyer to fight for you, protect you, and get you the compensation you need and deserve. Time's wasting. Call 800-709-4667. That's 800-709-4667. Call now.
I considered suicide so I wouldn't put my family through all the pain.
Many of our warriors are returning home from the battlefield, only to face a new war as they struggle with devastating injuries. At Wounded Warrior Project, we understand. We're there to help.
Even though you think you're broken, you're not. It's the physical and the emotional healing that Wounded Warrior Project provides.
With a gift of just $19 a month, you can join Wounded Warrior Project. You'll help provide critically needed programs and services that rebuild lives.
Beautiful. There you go, buddy.
The ongoing needs of our wounded and their families will continue for many years to come. Now is the time to show your support. Call now or go online with your gift of just $19 a month, and we'll send you this Wounded Warrior Project blanket.
It made me feel that there's people out there that care about us.
After this event, we can finally maybe start to heal as a family and move forward.
We need your help. The families are hurting.
For many of our wounded heroes, the greatest casualty is being forgotten. That's why your gift of just $19 a month is so important. Please, call or go online right now.
You shouldn't have to pay to talk to the people closest to you, or the people who used to be. That's why Umbrella Wireless is proud to announce the new Friends, Family, and Recent Ex-Girlfriend plan. Now you'll get unlimited calls to your best buddy, your mom, or Cindy, once she realizes that you're seriously meant for each other and should stop screening your calls. Now the 30 minutes of agonizing silence where you're both afraid to hang up may drain your battery, but it won't drain your wallet. And you'll get unlimited calls just to check if she still cares enough to pick up, with no extra charges. With the Friends, Family, and Recent Ex-Girlfriend plan, your phone will automatically answer calls from your ex, because maybe she finally realizes that you're the only one for her and wants to get coffee sometime. Now, after lonely nights of looking at pictures of the road trip you took together when everything was great, your misspelled texts are absolutely free. The only thing you have to pay for is the booze. The Friends, Family, and Recent Ex-Girlfriend plan, because she wants you back. She just doesn't know it yet.
You're listening to The Rod Eccles Show.
And you are back here with me on this Free for All Friday, 603-835-3224. If you have something that you would like to discuss, just give me a call here on the Rod Eccles Show. And I am, of course, your lovable host, Elrod, sitting in the Freedom Throne behind the Freedom Mic. Look, folks, when it comes to cultish things, when it comes to religion, now you have to understand that to a degree, cults are religious. They are religion. And you have to understand that how they operate, they don't operate based on a larger being or a larger sense of spirituality. Because not every major religion has a centralized or singular God. But there is a singular purpose, singular spirituality. And in a cult, there isn't this centralized God or spirit or spirituality. It revolves around the leader of the cult, not, say, God. Which is why, a lot of people thought that Christianity was basically a cult because it was revolved around Jesus. But they had a problem with defining it as a cult because Jesus referred back to the God of Abraham and Isaac. And therefore, he was saying that it isn't me, but the Father. But nobody comes to the Father but through me. So there wasn't this total centric selfishness on Christ, which would, if it was, hey, I'm God. You got David Koresh and some of these other cult leaders. Oh, well, I'm God on earth. Christ never said he was God. He said he was the Son of God. Well, there's a difference. So what you have is these cultish figures or leaders where their followers look at them as God. They look at them, that leader, as being the end-all, be-all. And L. Ron Hubbard created this system in Scientology that had people looking to him for everything. And now this new leader looking to him for everything. And not only do they look to him, but he in turn encourages people to worship L. Ron Hubbard, now that, he passed in 86 or something like that. So, and I'm watching this, and there's a speech in there that he gives, and he's talking about that L. Ron Hubbard is now taking the ultimate test or whatever outside of his body. And I'm like, oh, okay, so you're saying the man died. He's not coming back. He's not going to be able to tell you anything about it. But he was making it sound like L. Ron Hubbard, we may say he died, but he's just passing on into a new existence, new consciousness. He's left his earthly body and taken his form in the spirit realm, in his spiritual body, on his new journey. Okay, but this is what the people believe, and every chance he gets, he's turning and he's saluting the picture of L. Ron Hubbard. He salutes, a military salute. Now, as far as I know, this guy's never been in the military. And then Tom Cruise gets on stage, makes this rather impassioned speech. You know how Tom Cruise gets so intense. He gets intense when he's talking about L. Ron Hubbard and Scientology and David Missigivany, whatever his name is, however you pronounce his name. He's intense. And then he gets this intense handshake and this intense hug. And then he gives L. Ron Hubbard's picture this intense salute. I'm going, are you kidding me? Are you kidding? There doesn't seem to be any joy in this. Seems like it's well rehearsed. It seems like Tom Cruise thinks he's back in one of his movies, whatever. Mission Impossible and things like that. But this is what I was looking at while watching this. And this is, this is their footage. It's not like it's footage that's been smuggled out. This is, Church Scientology's footage. So but what we have in the Democrat side is the same thing. You have to worship at the altar of government because they believe government is the answer to everything. And it is definitely the answer to everything when they're in charge of that government. So it's not that just liberals want big government. They want big government that they're in charge of. And that you have to bow down to the altar of big government run by and ruled by liberals. And you need to salute the liberal. That's what they want you to do, to stand up there and be just as intense as Tom Cruise and give that intense salute and say, yes, man, you're the one. You're going to help me through my life. Cradle to grave. That's what we want. Government help. Salute. But that doesn't work. We can look at Black America and see that African Americans in this country, Black America in cities across the country, and we can see they have that type of intense support for liberal Democrats, but they live a life in shambles. And yet they continually spout the same dogma that is spit out by the liberal left. Liberal left tells them, it's the Republicans' fault. Yeah, it's the Republicans' fault, they repeat. The Republicans are to blame for this, and the Republicans are to blame for all the police brutality. But the point is, and when you go back and you start looking at things, well, first of all, these cities have been run by Democrats for decades. So the Republicans can't be at fault if it's a city run by Democrats. And then you go back and you look at speaking of Hillary Clinton, her husband's the one that wanted 100,000 more police on the streets of America, and he tried to pay for them with federal dollars. So if we have too many police in your city, it isn't because your mayor or somebody hired them all. It's because her husband, Bill Clinton, set aside federal funds so they could hire more police, so they could put more, bullies on the road if you think that the police are bullies. So, hello, black people, if you don't like cops, well, who are the ones who put more cops on the street? The Democrats. But you're blaming the Republicans. This is a cult mentality, so that when the cult leader comes to you and says, yes, we have this problem, we've been in charge for 50 years, but you know what? It's really the Republicans' fault. And you say, yes, it's really the Republicans' fault. Remember, Indiana Jones, and the kid is like, Kalima. Oh no, that's the Mummy. Even in Indiana Jones, they have this cult type of stuff. Kalima, Kalima, Kal. No matter what you say, you can always get people to believe something other than the truth. And because if they fall at the altar of this cultish crap, they're going to believe you, even though when they live the life and they understand, or they should understand, that they're being lied to day in and day out by the hour, they will buy the lie for whatever reason. And then they'll regurgitate it. This is what we're getting from the Democrats. And the right side, we make this mistake time and time and time again, where we try to say, well, no, this is our policy. This is our policy. This is what we believe. We got to knock it off. You have to fight cultism with cultish tactics. If a cult comes in and says, liberal cultist comes in, I'm going to start calling them liberal cultists. And they come and say, well, this is your fault. You can say, we haven't even been involved. Don't offer policy. Say, we haven't been involved. Baltimore's been run by your cult for 50 years. We haven't been involved. It can't be our fault. And then if you start saying that in that way, you push it back, because now the people in this cult, their eyes will start to slowly open and say, wait, well, you told me it's their fault, but they said they haven't even been around. So how is it their fault they're not here? Now, of course, the liberals are going to say that's why it's their fault, because they weren't here. But then it's too late, because then people will start to think, well, wait a minute. If they were here, you're going to say it's their fault, but they haven't been here. So you've been able to do everything that you've ever wanted to do. and I'm still living like this. That's when people start to wake up. It's happening in Detroit and Chicago right now. People are looking around and saying, Detroit, this city's in shambles. And Obama hasn't helped. And the Democrats have been running it for the past 50 or 60 years. How is it the Republicans' fault again? They're starting to wake up. And I will go back to this a study or poll that was taken where 59% of African Americans say that government is the problem. Now, 10 years ago, you wouldn't have had anywhere near that. But this shows that people are beginning to wake up, and you have to, like Indiana Jones, have to sort of take that torch and stick it in their gut and burn them to wake them and to snap them out of it. Don't actually take a torch and start trying to burn people. I'm speaking figuratively here, folks. But you got to wake them up before you can make them see. And the only way you can begin to wake them up is take yourself out of the equation. See, we want to say, us on the right, rightfully so, we want to stand in there and defend our position and then say why we're right and this is right and why it works. And all we have to learn how to start saying and doing is, you know what, in selective cases, just saying, we weren't there. Can't be our fault. We weren't there. And then see what you get back. They can't say anything to that. Because the only thing left is, well, it's your fault you weren't there. But you just said it was my fault because you thought we were there. But we weren't there. So it can't be my fault. The right was not there. Republican conservatives were not there. So it cannot be the conservative Republicans' fault that you're going through this. Because you said it is our fault because we were here. But we weren't there. We weren't in charge. We weren't able to affect any policy. We were not there. So it cannot be our fault. And if it cannot be our fault, then it has to be whose fault? Either yours or your cult leader's fault. Now, naturally, when you put it in those terms, the person on the street is not going to say it's their fault because we're all conditioned to blame somebody else now. They're going to say, wait a minute, it ain't my fault I'm down here in Butcher Holler. It ain't my fault I'm down here in the ghetto or in government housing. They don't bring me opportunity. And they're going to start pointing to the liberals. And they're already doing it in some cities. The next thing you got to do is you got to start attacking the holy men of the cult. You got to bring them down. And I know we've been trying to do that with the likes of Al Sharpton. Hey, by the way, have you noticed Jesse Jackson is noticeably absent from a lot of this stuff lately? He's nowhere near as prominent as he used to be. Because some of the things that started to hit on Jesse Jackson were taking hold. He was becoming less effective. So now Al Sharpton had to change himself in order to stay in the game. So he became the incredible shrinking Al. Now he's big head, little body Al. But you got to understand, in order to start affecting change and weaning African Americans, you've got to go after these people that call themselves the leaders of the black community. Really? Really? Al. Hey, Mr. Sharpton, Reverend Sharpton. Why are you talking about the rich? What are you worth? How much money do you make every year? You know, you have to start getting them to talk about, look, you're flying around the country. You know, these people right here, they can't do that. You get to, obviously, you know, but until, I guess, maybe you had a medical scare, which is why you lost so much weight, but you weren't missing any meals. You have to attack the cult the way a cult wants to attack you. It's called fighting fire with fire. It's a very effective tool. You cannot allow yourself to be put on the defensive. And this is where conservatives make the mistake. We allow ourselves to be put on the defensive so we can defend ourselves. And that's what we try to do. We do not try to fight back. We do not try to reverse it. Look, there's this a very successful type of sales system out there called the Sandler sales system. And one of the things that they always say to new salespeople, one of the things the new salespeople have to learn is that sales should not be a high pressure type of game or a job. It should not. You should not have the pressure. You should not be trying to sell somebody. You should just let the person that you're talking to sell themselves. Put the pressure on them. Take it off of you. You don't get paid enough, and even though some salespeople get paid a lot, you don't get paid enough, so the system says, to take on the pressure. Why would you do that? So we have to look at the same thing. If the left wants to start throwing daggers and darts and putting the pressure on us, we just say, you know what? I'm not taking the pressure. It's not me. We weren't there. Or you're doing this. You're complaining that Republicans do this, but you're doing this too. Can you explain that? Put the pressure, just reverse it. Let it bounce off you back onto them. That's how it works. That's using fire to fight fire. Understand that liberalism is nothing more than a cult. That's all it is. And frankly, in order to get to the point where it's no longer a cult, well, it's always going to be a cult. I don't know what I was thinking right there, but forgive me for that faux pas. But understand, they're always going to have this sort of cultish aspect to them. And no matter what you do, no matter what you say, they're going to try to blame you for something. So the whole point is, because that's all they can do. They do not have real solutions. Understand, the solutions that they have been trying for the past 100 years have all failed. And instead of taking responsibility for their failures, they want to blame somebody else. So what you have to do is when you're talking to a liberal is just reverse it. Have that pressure bounce off of you and go right to them. And watch them squirm. You know, one of the, I hate to say this. No, I don't. I really don't. One of the greatest joys in my life is watching a liberal squirm. The reason why I listen to this guy talk a lot, but the reason why I like Juan Williams is because Hannity and some of his guests sometimes they make him squirm. But yet he still comes back for more because he thinks he's making progress and showing that it's the conservative side's fault. But he doesn't realize that he's losing. 99% of the time, Juan Williams loses. And he sits there and he squirms. And he can't come out with a full, honest, straight, head-on answer. He's got to obfuscate and go around in circles. And it's just wonderful to watch him squirm. Because that's what they all do. When you reverse it on them, you back them into a corner, you'll watch a liberal squirm. And that, well, obviously that's when they start calling you all kinds of names and saying that you're an idiot. Look, I had it the other day and somebody, we were discussing with somebody in these stupid chemtrails. And, he was telling me that, well, I need to watch his video. I said, you know what? I've already seen the video. And I've seen this video and this video. And I've read this report and this report on the idea. But I've also read this, and this, and I've seen this, and this that refutes all of that. I've even seen interviews with pilots. I've even seen them from your side saying this plane is a chemtrail plane. And they sneak onto the tarmac after it lands, and they try to film to see where the spray is coming out. And there's nothing. Nothing. So I said, you know what? There's so much evidence that debunks that, but you're too close-minded to view it. Do you just want to believe that they're chemtrails, or do you want to know the truth? And I watched him squirm. Because when you get to the truth and when you want to know the truth and that's what you're about, you want to espouse the truth. And they don't. They just want to express and forward their own personal agenda, and you hit them on it and you reverse the pressure. They squirm like hell because they don't have an answer. They don't. So that's what we got to do, folks. You got to get them to squirm. Because if you get the cult leaders to start squirming, well, the rank and file, those cult members will start to see it and they'll begin to wake up. And they'll say, false prophet, false prophet, boo, false prophet. I'm telling you, that's how it's going to work. We conservatives have got to stop taking the pressure. If you take the pressure, you cannot win the argument. It's very difficult. If you reflect that pressure back on those who are your accusers, you're not going to have a problem with it. Not at all. You are not going to have any kind of problem whatsoever. In fact, you're going to, as you get better at reversing the pressure, you're going to find yourself thoroughly enjoying it. You're going to enjoy it so much that you're going to want to keep doing it. And as you keep doing it, you're going to notice that some people are going to start to flip. Some of the people within your sphere of influence are going to start to flip. They're going to flip from being a liberal to being a conservative. It's going to happen. I've already seen it happen. So you don't need to take the pressure. We, on the conservatives, we don't need to take the pressure. It's the liberals that need to take it because they're the ones that created it. They try to create all kinds of scenarios. And we've also got to stop this idea that if a liberal comes up with an idea, then we've got to come up with our own counter to that idea. No, we don't. It's like Obamacare. Well, the left is trying to do something about healthcare. What are your ideas? Why do I got to have an idea? I say leave it alone. Government doesn't belong in it. That's my idea. Get out of the way. No. You got to come up with a healthcare plan. No, I don't. Here's my plan. Get government out of healthcare because they've screwed it up. There's no way for you to fix it. No plan by government officials is going to fix it. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Why do you want to dictate how people get their health care? Why do you not want people to make their own decisions on health care? You start asking those kind of questions and they'll go, well, no, we want people to have, control over that. Really? You want people to have control over their health care? We'll explain this law that takes that out of their hands. Stop trying to follow them and come up with an idea that's better. If there is no need for an idea, say it. Put it back on them. And tell them, we don't need an idea. We just need, the only idea that we have is that you get out of the way. Plain and simple. The free market, let me decide for myself. I don't need you to decide for me. You do not have to be an outlier. Do not be an outlier of this cult. Do not fall for the cultish maneuvers and tricks. They've been tricking us for decades to follow their lead. And while we've been following their lead, trying to defend ourselves, they've been making gains. That's how they've gotten ahead. We've got to flip it on them, folks. Make them defend whatever they say. Because I tell you something, when you start doing that and they start squirming, that means that they can't defend what they say. And they know they're not going to get away with blaming you. That's when people are going to wake up and they're going to see the truth. I guarantee it.